Guys, Marvel Fan 45 here, and I regret to say this, but this will be my last video because I just don't have time for this channel anymore. It's not anything, it's just this channel is just extra stress to have in the background to maybe make a video every once in a while. And I really enjoyed having this channel, but I just don't have the time for it anymore. So, for one last video, I'm going to be going over every single thing I watched in the last 2 to 3 months. It's sort of a mix. I threw a lot of stuff in here. So yeah, let's get started with this last going over of what I've watched. So yeah, let's begin with Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. This movie was a surprise, to put it lightly. It was actually really fun and actually had some mildly okay shots. And yeah, it was just a good time. And the jokes in the opening hour landed and hit, and then the final hour it sort of fizzled out in my opinion. But I had a great time watching it. And then Infinity Pool. Infinity Pool is a little different than Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, if you've seen it. I'm glad Infinity Pool is getting a Criterion release. Let me say that first. Infinity Pool is the exact kind of movie I would expect Criterion to release. It's a very Criterion-y movie, if that makes sense. And we'll get into Criterion more later. But Infinity Pool, what an experience this was. This is in my top 10 of the year, and it's stayed in my top 10 of the year consistently. This movie is super good. I really want to rewatch it. Mia Goth gives one of the best performances of the year. I forget the lead actor's name, but he's amazing as well, because Mia Goth kind of steals the show, as she tends to do. And it's just this really unique concept. I went into this movie expecting it to be one thing, but what I got was totally different. It's body horror, ? In the most existential way, and the drug trip sequence in this movie will be the best drug trip sequence of the entire year. Nothing will top the drug trip sequence in this movie this year. But the plot and the ending and everything about it was just amazing. And then I also watched Pearl again, which was a great time, and I very much enjoyed it. But yeah, off the topic of Mia Goth, The Greasy Strangler. Yeah, I watched The Greasy Strangler. That's really all I can say about that. Bullshit artist. But The Greasy Strangler was a good time? I couldn't really... Did I like this movie? Did I hate this movie? What did I even just watch? The only real... I can't say the only real issue I had with this movie, because I had a lot of issues with this movie. One of the main things that dragged this movie down for me, though, I couldn't give this movie a rating, but the ending was just, too long. It did not need to go on as long as it did, but it was funny. But, yeah, The Greasy Strangler, that sure was a movie I did watch. Ant-Man and the Wasp 3: Quantumania. This is my, I believe, second least favorite movie that's come out this year. So, this movie really just couldn't nail any aspect it was trying to achieve. The cool other quantum realm that was supposed to be in this movie, CG really was just not there for them to land it. They tried to achieve the cool, villain with MODOK and Kang. Didn't really achieve it as much because of the ending. That's the other issue. The ending was awful. I despised the ending to this movie. I thought it, ruined any stakes for any future Marvel films. And then that's the other thing. It was literally just a build-up movie. I mean, This movie just felt like filler. And the end of the movie, I was literally just like, what? Why? Why am I continuing to watch this? Quantumania is just awful. I did not like Quantumania. Now on the opposite of that side of the coin, John Wick Chapter 4. This has literally almost cracked my top 20 movies of all time when I watched it. And I saw it twice in 2 days, which says a lot, and I'm gonna rewatch it again and again. This movie, I saw a Letterboxd review that sums it up perfectly. This movie has a Lawrence of Arabia reference in the first 5 minutes, has a Barry Lyndon reference in the ending, references The Warriors, and it's like a perfect amalgamation of everything John Wick is. It's an art film. It is an art film, and I am not exaggerating. John Wick 4 is an art film, and some of the shots in this movie are genuinely amazing. The action sequences in it haven't been topped this year in live action, and we'll get to that later. John Wick 4, masterpiece. If you don't know, John Wick 3 is in my top 20 movies of all time because I'm in love with the John Wick movies. I just love all of them. But yeah, John Wick 4, perfect movie. Now, on the opposite coin of that, again, Murder Mystery 2. This movie was so bad it's good. It was horrendous in the best way possible. Interpret that as you will. But I had a good time watching the last 40 minutes of this movie. The opening 40 minutes of this movie were almost unbearable to watch. I did not care about a thing that happened. The big issue with this movie was it was the same joke over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And that itself explains the joke and how bad it is. But it's called Murder Mystery 2. This movie has already been forgotten in terms of movies that have come out this year. That's how bad it is. I don't even need to expand. And on the opposite side of the coin again, from another movie this year, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. This movie is a masterpiece, and I do not say that lightly. The animation in this movie, within the opening 20 minutes, is literally better than half the movies that are going to come out this year. And that's not an exaggeration. The action sequences in this movie are literally on a whole other plane of existence compared to other animated movies. And Metro Boomin doing the soundtrack makes it good as well. But yeah, no. I loved it. I admittedly cried multiple times during it as a big Spider-Man fan, and I loved the concept. This, I forgot which news outlet put out the article, but the article summed up my thoughts on this movie perfectly. This movie achieves everything Marvel has been trying to build up to without any of the time wasted of the build-up. So like Marvel right now, they're building up to this huge, big, multiversal, big fight. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse just did it. And look at where they ended up. It's so good. Like, it genuinely, like, the way it handles the multiverse, the way it handles the multiple Spider-Men, like, it's complete chaos, don't get me wrong. The movie's complete chaos, but that's what makes it so good. That and the animation is, again, stunning, and the story is entertaining, and the score is amazing. When Spider-Man 2099 comes on screen, you feel his presence. But Across the Spider-Verse, I'm done gushing about it. It's a masterpiece. Mithrigan, or Megan, which also came out this year, it was okay, which is better than I expected it to be. If I'm being honest, it was okay. I mean, it's not that bad. It's not the worst thing that's come out this year. It's not the best thing that came out this year. it was a pretty good, alright movie. Yeah, Megan. Mission Impossible Fallout on a rewatch to prepare for Dead Reckoning. This movie is an action masterclass. Every single action movie this decade could learn from this movie. The plane sequence, the car chase sequence, any action sequence in this, the opening 20 minutes with the twist, which you won't expect if you haven't seen it before. As I saw with my friend who hadn't seen it before. Yeah, it's a masterpiece. What else needs to be said? Pulp Fiction, another masterpiece. I mean, it's just classic cinema. Everything that needs to be said about this film has been said. The Gold Watch is my favorite segment, and now we can move on. Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. This movie got bumped up to 5 stars for me and is now my favorite Mission Impossible movie. The plot is just so intricate and interesting. Like, you don't get plots this entertaining usually in spy movies recently. They don't put as much effort, but this movie, there's so many like threads and changing like sides, shifting sides, and all of that. It's so good. It's so good. Rogue Nation, love it. Now on to my least favorite movie of the year, The Little Mermaid, released in 2023. I really don't know what to say about this movie besides it's just boring and bland. Like, Halle Bailey gives an amazing performance, and Daveed Diggs carries the movie as much as he can. The singing is great. The acting is great. The issue is the visuals and, like, the way it's shot is just so, like, dry and bland. I can't even explain it. Like, it looks corporate. Like, it doesn't look... There's no big, like, bombastic, cool-looking visuals. It's just clearly fake, like, really not... It's clearly fake in a bad way. The way it's directed, I just could not get behind it. I did not like the way it was directed. That was my main issue. That and it just came off bland and corporate. That was the big thing. I just did not like it. But Halle Bailey, Daveed Diggs, the rest of the cast gave a great performance. And the singing was great, but everything else just sort of fell by the wayside. But yeah. Now on to the opposite tone of that movie, Crash. Not to be confused with, I believe his name is Paul Haggis's Crash, the Oscar-winning Crash. I'm talking about the David Cronenberg Crash, which I've owned the Criterion of now for 6 or 7 months. Yeah. This sure is a movie. The way I heard about this movie was the movie about people who get turned on by car crashes. And that title is very apt. And I forget the actress who plays Elastigirl, but she's in this. And after seeing her in Succession, it's definitely interesting thinking she's in The Incredibles too. It is in like Succession in this. Which Succession I've also been watching. That show's like 5 out of 5. Go watch it if you haven't. I'm only on season 3. Don't spoil anything for me. It's so good. But yeah, no. Crash, I thought it was a 5 out of 5 movie, but I will never watch it again. Air, another 2023 movie with Ben Affleck, directed by Ben Affleck and starring Matt Damon. It's very Social Network-y, except for like take out most of the like big conflict in the Social Network. In Air, it just sort of like goes the way Matt Damon wants it. Like, there are a few challenges, but this movie doesn't really have any stakes. It's just a fun movie to watch. It's no Social Network, but yeah. Fast X, I would say this is better than Air, personally. This movie is hilariously stupid. I'm not going to spoil anything for anyone who hasn't seen it, but there's a reason it's in my top 5 movies released this year. Not just because I haven't seen Zhang Yimou's new film, but Fast X, yeah. If you think characters die in the series, you're wrong. But yeah, Fast X. Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, it's a great time. I've already talked about all the Mission Impossible movies enough. Ghost Protocol is amazing and a great start to the 2010s trilogy of these. And also, the Burj Khalifa sequence and whole desert chase is amazing. Now, on to the random 1890s to 1900s films I watched. Solar Eclipse. This movie is really well shot for its time period, and I really enjoyed it. It's what it says on the tin. It's the title. It's a solar eclipse. Heat, released in 1995, directed by my personal favorite director at this moment, Michael Mann. It's probably the greatest crime film ever made, in my opinion. The only crime films that get close to Michael Mann films are other Michael Mann films, which says a lot. But yeah, no. Heat, it's a masterpiece. If you haven't seen this movie, go see it. Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Val Kilmer, all in stunt. This movie is the best shots of LA, cityscape shots of LA you'll ever see. And that's all I need to say. La Home Machine, I probably just mispronounced that awfully. But this is just sort of another like 18 to 1900s movie of like a stick drawing of a guy trying to walk, and it was pretty cool. Panorama of the Eiffel Tower. This film had the first camera tilt in film history. And after watching it, I can confirm it does have the first camera tilt in film history. Serpentine Dance by Louis Lumiere. This is my favorite Lumiere film after watching it. You really have to see it to get it. It's just really cool for the time period, and the way they shot it was actually... I would highly recommend to watch it. Now, I forgot to mention this when I said Crash earlier. I'm doing the Criterion Challenge this year, which if you're not familiar, you pick 52 films on Letterboxd from the Criterion label, and you watch them all, and Crash was my 90s film because I needed to watch it, and my next film was Anthem by Marlon Riggs, because we had to have one film directed by Marlon Riggs. I really want to watch more Marlon Riggs after seeing this film. The editing just like captures you in a way that not a lot of other short films do. The editing is also like insane, like so much stuff is happening at once. But the way it gets its message across is just beautiful. I would highly recommend to watch Anthem if you have Criterion Channel. Then, this was one of the first reviews on my channel, actually. I rewatched Only God Forgives. It was not as good as I remember. But it was still pretty good. Loved the way it was shot. But the really obvious symbolism, I didn't enjoy it as much. And the dialogue was just a little off. But the camera work still remains some of my favorite camera work in any movie. Only God Forgives was okay. Not okay. It was really good on a rewatch. It just wasn't great, as I thought it was. And then, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which I also saw twice, which was a mistake for my emotions those 2 days. If you've seen it, you know why, because it's sad. It's good. It's really good. I don't want to spoil it if you haven't seen it. I will say they did fake you out a little bit with the advertising, which made me a little mad. But overall, it was just a fun little film, and it didn't... Leisure with Quantumania was it all felt like build-up. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was like just a film doing what it wanted to do. Like, that's the appeal of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. They don't feel like they're building up to some big, greater climax. They can stand alone. Like, Quantumania can't stand alone in the Marvel Universe, in my opinion. Like, and I don't really like the Marvel movies that much. But, like, I wouldn't go watch Quantumania as much as I'd rather watch any of the 3 Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Because they actually have, like, a quest and a story to them that isn't tied into... I mean, it is tied into some larger universe, but it doesn't feel that way, if that makes sense. But yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Monkey Shine's number 1. This film was really good. It's a really weird 18 to 1900s film. I don't remember which exactly. But I would go watch it if you haven't. It's an interesting experience. Boat Leaving the Port, another amazing Lumiere film. Love Lumiere. He's slowly coming up in my favorite directors. But yeah, Boat Leaving the Port. Again, it does what it says in the title. Now, I went on a massive Stan Brakhage binge. Just out of nowhere. And I'm just gonna list these off. These are all original and creative and interesting films, but I don't want to go over all of them individually because Stan Brakhage's works, as I watch them, sort of go better in a cohesive viewing experience, like watching one a day after watching the other. Like, you really start to understand what he's going for. Brakhage really moved his way up in my favorite directors after seeing so many more of his films. So, here are all the Stan Brakhage shorts I watched within, like, I think it was a 3 or 4 day span, which I would recommend you watch all of these. These are all amazing. So, starting off, Prelude 14, The Dante Quartet, Night Music, Commingled Containers, I, Myth, and Water for Maya. Now, which one was my favorite? Probably Commingled Containers, Prelude 14, I, Myth, or Water for Maya. I liked all of them, but those were my favorites. But Stan Brakhage is just really unique and really breaks the grain in terms of what you can do in film. And I would highly encourage anybody to go check out Stan Brakhage who has not seen his works. Go check this one out. Then I watched Evil Dead Rise from 2023 as well. This is just a great time as an Evil Dead movie and as a horror movie. My one expectation for this movie was gore, and I got it in spades. I have not seen the 2013 remake yet. I started watching it, but I didn't finish it just because I wasn't in the mood for it. If you've seen the film, you know it's a really specific mood. But yeah, no, this film is just a great time as a horror movie. I mean, it's just fun. Like, it's a great time. And the final sequence with and how they tie in the chainsaw is great. And Kirsten Stewart as the lead actress here is absolutely amazing. Kirsten Stewart was perfectly cast here. Kirsten Stewart is just a great actress in general, but here she really fit the role, and I'm glad they cast her. But there is so much blood in this movie. There is so much gore. If you come into this movie seeking some, like, intense kind of plot, it does the Evil Dead formula. It does what you want it to do as an Evil Dead movie. There are a bunch of people, they find the Necronomicon, they have the saying that happens, and then Deadite. And this also has one of the most mean-spirited, like, all the Evil Dead movies are mean-spirited. But this is probably the most mean-spirited one besides, like, the first one, and from what I hear, the 2013 one. Like, there's a scene where a character dies in an elevator, and, like, they just go overboard with how she dies. Like, that, just insanely brutal. And also sort of a Shining reference a little bit later in the film in the elevator, but I'm not going to spoil that. But yeah. Evil Dead Rise, loved it. It's in my top 5 for the year as well. The Super Mario Bros. Movie. one half of me loves this movie and one half of me hates this movie. For one, I can't stand the fact that it's just advertising an IP and sort of starting a new MCU type deal. But on the other hand, it was an okay time, but I don't know how I feel about it. I hate it and I enjoy it. That's my opinions on the Mario Bros. Movie. Hopefully that didn't confuse anybody. Return of the King, I saw it again in theaters, still a masterpiece. If you've seen Return of the King, you know. I saw the extended cut again in theaters, and yet again, still a masterpiece. You can feel the weight of the ring on Frodo as he's going up Mount Doom. Just a masterpiece. And then, the last film to catch you up on my last video was Stanley Kubrick's Barry Lyndon, which is, at this moment, my favorite Kubrick film. And I really don't know what to say about this movie. I mean, it says a lot that I own 2 copies of it in my collection, my DVD and Criterion Blu-ray. But, man, this film was just... On rewatch, it got even better. That's... The cinematography, Ryan O'Neal, Marissa Brinson, the epic scope, the epic shots. Kubrick just achieves everything here he wanted to achieve. And it is really, truly a beautiful work of art. I think genuinely everybody should see. And it's in my top 5 movies of all time. And will probably have Eyes Wide Shut take its spot once I rewatch it. But yeah, guys, that was my last video and my last recap to catch you guys up on what I've been watching. If you want to keep up with me outside of YouTube, now that I'm leaving YouTube, follow my Letterboxd, Jack Burton 1234. Follow it and you'll see my reviews and my ratings and my rankings. Jack Burton 1234, again, I'll keep my reviews up there. Letterboxd doesn't really stress me out as much as YouTube did. But yeah, no. Goodbye, YouTube. It was a good run. And yeah, love and thank everyone who supported me. Just to list off a few names: The Misfit Pond, Daisuke Beppu, Dion Wynn, I know I'm forgetting a bunch of names here, but everyone who helped me grow and expand out my YouTube channel. I never even thought I would have 5 subscribers. Having 96 was... I can't thank you guys enough. So thank you for giving me the amazing experience that was this channel. Thank you to all the friends I made along the way. And for the last time, stay safe, everybody. Have a good day. Marvel Fan 45 signing off.